Welcome back to Retroactive. We are here today to talk about the Final Reckoning, Mission Impossible, the newest installment and possibly the final installment of the franchise. There's until that giant money truck just beep 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 backs up right to his front door as it always does. Just like with the Fast and Furious franchise, you never really know if it's over. But luckily, unlike the Fast and Furious franchise, we have some positive things to talk about today. So let me go around the panel real quick, introduce everybody. We have Steven joining us again. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing wonderfully.
All right.
Like a
We're
60-year-old jumping out of an airplane.
That's right. I mean, he's doing better than I would be doing. And of
Hmm.
course, we have my wife Ashlyn. Hi, babe.
Hi guys.
So we're gonna dive right in here. Now, Ashlyn and I actually did a like a rewatch of the entire series leading up to the Final Reckoning, and there's some good ones, there's some bad ones. Mostly the second one is terrible. I'm sorry. I just have to say yeah, that after rewatching that is in my opinion the worst one, but I'm not here to talk about that.
I'll
Um,
leave. It's fine. I'm done. I'll leave. Bye.
I know Steven's got a soft spot for that one.
Oh, I do.
But anyway, I did not care that much about this franchise until Ghost Protocol came around and kind of revamped it. They set up the new team and like brought some people back, but mostly brought in new people. And then they kind of built off it from there. It was kind of like I keep making the example of Fast and Furious, but it was kind of like when they did Fast and Furious, the fourth one, where they were like, we're gonna kind of like soft reboot this and launch it from there. But like Fast Five when they brought in The Rock is really where like we're forget the street racing. It's just going off the rails and it's going crazy from here. But I'm sorry. See, now I'm stuck on this. Mission Impossible did a similar thing, in my opinion, when we did Ghost Protocol and everything that went from there, but in a good, positive way. And so that one for me was probably my favorite for the longest time. And there's some really good stuff that's been since then, and some things that I'm like, maybe that wasn't the best, but I for this movie in particular, I thought that this was like a phenomenal movie, especially for an action flick. This was like a love letter to the like 90s 2000s that this series started with, of action movies and stuff like that in particular, and a love letter, in my opinion, to like the movie going experience, cinema as a whole, because like Tom Cruise, even as crazy as he might be sometimes, is like a big person when it comes to like supporting the industry, supporting like movie theaters. Like that's why even after this one got delayed a couple times with the writer's strike and everything else that's happened over the last few years, he'd release these little like snippets and be like, hey, we're working on this, make sure you go see it in the theater, like it's him hanging from the plane while he's talking about it, that sort of thing. And so this is one of those I've told people, there's certain things that I will argue, as much as I love going to the theater, I understand that not everybody can do what we do. Like not everybody has a list where they can go multiple times a week or month or whatever, and see multiple movies. Some people can't afford that. Some people can't even go see like one movie a month. Like I get it. And but I will say, for what we spend in streaming nowadays, you're getting pretty freaking close, if not worse. That's a topic for another day. There's some movies that I'll say you could probably skip and wait for streaming. This is not one of those movies, in my opinion. This is a movie that's meant to be seen on the big screen. This is a movie that will feel differently when you watch it at home versus seeing it on the big screen. Is there rewatchability? Yes, I absolutely think there's rewatchability with this, down the line, like after it hits home video and stuff like that. But the initial feeling that you can have with these movies in general, not just this one in particular, but just speaking with this one, I don't think you're going to have that if this is your first viewing, watching it at home. Some like highlights, the tense, like the tense moments that are had in this, like the submarine scene, when he's, and spoiler alert again, this is going to be a spoiler talk, going from like start to finish. So if you haven't seen it, please pause and come back. Just save the video for later. But the submarine scene in particular, I already and like freaked out of like when it comes to like deep water stuff. That's not one of my favorite things. And so that sequence, just getting to the submarine was rough. And then when he's in the submarine, dealing with all the just the chaos of that, it's rotating. You've got the torpedoes dropping around everywhere. That was such like my chest was tight the entire time, and but getting to see some of those and obviously some of the later ones when they're like flying around, like seeing that on the big screen, that was one of those I'm like, I'm so glad I got to see this way. And like Steven knows, I'm a huge advocate when it comes to Dolby cinema and stuff like that. It's while our theater doesn't have an IMAX, it's basically IMAX, but with I would argue with a better sound system. And so seeing it on the biggest screen possible with like one of the best projection systems possible and sound system, like it was everything I wanted it to be. It was, thrilling from start to finish. There's some unfortunate heartbreak that like had to happen because somebody's got to die, unfortunately. Especially for the last movie. I'm glad that it was only one. We got lucky that it was just the one, but unfortunately the one and only Ving Rhames didn't make it out of this one. They clearly were setting up that he had some health issues going on. I don't think we got the specifics on exactly what happened in that regard, but they were kind of being like, it's okay that he's gone, or he's sacrificing himself because he was already on the way out. One of the things I did want to mention with the way that they decided to take Ving Rhames like out of this was I did like that final interaction that him and Tom Cruise got to have together, and kind of just casually talking through the gate while he's doing the surgery on the bomb and everything like that. And it was typical Ving Rhames, like cool, cool, calm, and collected type of guy. And that was going to be his character till the end. And
I love the way he said, to add to that, Andrew, where he goes, I was born to do this. When he like, it had to be me. I was born to do this. I was like, shut the fuck up, Ving. I'm going to cry forever now. Like, I can't handle this.
Ashton was very upset about this, about the death. And like soon as it like was, alluded to, like before we even got to the whole like him being locked up thing, she was like, no, like she was already very upset, especially after it happened. So yeah, I will say, if it had to be one of them, it's not that I wanted it to be him, but it was going to be him, or it was going to be Benji, Simon Pegg's character. It was going to be one of those two that went in this one. And I have to say, if it had to be the two of them, I more appreciate the choice for it to be Ving Rhames and the way that they did it. I feel like it would have sucked. It wouldn't have. It's weird. It's not that it wouldn't have hurt for Simon Pegg's character to be killed, because it would have, but he's also that like comic relief type of thing. Even when things are dire and serious, and even when he's in trouble, like we see later in the movie, like he still manages to do the little quips like he does and stuff like that, and we would have missed out on that for the entire movie. And I think he's necessary for that little bit of levity from beginning to end type of thing. So I think I would have been more upset if it was Benji at the beginning, calling it a day.
Yeah. And I mean, Ving was in like, he's been in there from the beginning. It's only like second to like Ethan dying himself would have been only
for sure. And I think literally, I don't think he was. No, he was in the second one for like a second. Like he had a couple ones in the middle that he like played a much smaller role. But once they had him show up at the, he shows up at the very end of that movie, and that's when they were like, okay, we're gonna bring him back, and he's gonna actually be part of the team again, and everything like that. Because obviously I know he's in the third one, and everything. But yeah, so they did such a good job with this movie, like kind of touching on things from throughout the series. Like they didn't have to do for every movie. They didn't have to reference every single bad guy or every single thing. Yes, there's a lot of exposition at the beginning. There's a lot of exposition like throughout, or things that are referenced and little clips that are shown. And while some of it at times maybe felt like it, not that it wasn't necessary, but that maybe it was a bit much. But that was also from my perspective, coming from somebody that just like rewatched everything. But what I liked what they did, it was what they did with the characters. I really thought that they did a solid job with the character they brought back from the very first film. I feel bad, I can't remember his name, but the gentleman that worked in the
Ludlow, right? Was it Ludlow?
Ludlow, yeah, like the Langley office, and that, he steals the list from in the very first movie, and how they reincorporated him back, but it also wasn't just like a glorified cameo, like he played an actual role through the like second half of the film and everything like that. And they gave him something to do, and I loved the interactions between him and Ethan. Being like, Ethan's like, I feel bad, like I'm the reason that you got sent out to the middle of BFE, and he's like, well, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have the life that I have, I wouldn't have the wife that I have, and all this kind of stuff, and I'd probably think that I'm happy just toiling away in that that cubicle from hell from the first movie at Langley and stuff like that, and he'd probably, like, basically he was alluding, he's like, I'd probably just be alone, but I would think I'm happy when I'm not. And so that was very sweet, and that was very cool. They, this what I will say, out of like all the Mission Impossibles, does this have like all of the biggest action sequences out of it? Maybe not, but it didn't have to. Like there were a few more, like, I guess you could say, grounded action sequences that played out through this, minus the airplane one, which is not grounded, but it didn't have to, like, it's not always one-upping itself. Like, that was one of the things that, like, I remember seeing the trailer for this, and I was like, oh, him hanging from the side of like a biplane, like that's not as big as last time. And then I had to like kind of bring myself in and be like, he doesn't have to outdo himself every single time. He doesn't have to be jumping from a plane 100 times, or hanging from the side of a aircraft carrier and things like that, and doing.
I think Tom would disagree with you. He'd vehemently disagree. That man wants to die on screen. He wants to die on camera.
That man's insurance company absolutely hates him. If whoever actually insures him is just like this every time he goes to film a movie.
Don't quote me on this, but I seem to remember a couple of movies ago they couldn't get insurance, and he had to do it himself. He was their insurance company.
I would wholeheartedly believe that.
I think it was. I forget what stunt it was specifically, but so it's my understanding from like watching things about it, because I'm a pretty big fan of the series up until like the movie before this, but I'll wait my turn to say anything about that. But yeah, I think they get insured not for the whole production, but like for specific stunts.
Yeah.
And he, I don't want to. It wasn't the motorcycle parachute one. It was the.
I bet it was the one where he had to like repeatedly jump out of the plane with the screen on his face. I think it was during Fallout, because they did that like 15 times, and he did it himself.
I think honestly, I want to say it was the one where he was hanging off the plane itself.
That one would also,
or the Burj Khalifa one,
same movie,
the one from.
I think it was the same movie, but at the beginning of the movie instead of that later scene. So that's
there was something. Yeah, there was something he had to put the money up for, or he had to endorse, like something he had to pay for. But it is amazing that anyone would ever insure that man to do anything.
Yeah,
and he breaks his ankle on a simple jump over two buildings.
Oh my god! And you see it happen too. Like
it's terrible.
That's the crazy part. They're like, "Yep, that's the one," because we can't refilm it.
And it's just you can see how broken it is. Like see it's like,
and he's like hobbling
yeah.
like away from frame, and you're just like.
I remember looking at Andrew and going, "This is where the director is just like, this son of a bitch. This is why we have stunt doubles, because now my production is pushed back for like 8 weeks while this shit heals." You just know that director was like, "God damn it!"
I don't think any director is saying that to Tom Cruise.
Not to Tom Cruise, not to their face.
I think they're like
thinking it, but that's a whole other thing.
Ralph McQuarrie is like, I think they're like best friends. So I don't.
They are best friends. Yeah, they've worked on like. I believe all the the recent Mission Impossibles and some stuff too. Which I do have to say, like, there's a lot of credit to be given, obviously, to Tom Cruise, but there's a lot of credit to be given to Ralph McQuarrie as well as a director with these films, and the way that he directs action sequences, the way that he directs these like ensemble casts and stuff like that. Like there is credit where credit is due, in my opinion. And this is one of those, like Stephen kind of like alluded to it. Like, I didn't hate the last one. I think it was a bit of a. I'm not saying he did, but I'm just saying, like, did I hate the last one? No. Did I think it was maybe a step down from like previous entries? Yeah, a little bit. But I was having this conversation with Ashlyn last night after seeing the movie that, unfortunately, now they did decide to do a lot of, like I said before, exposition with this movie, as far as making sure that you knew exactly what was going on and like what happened prior, more or less, like condensing it as much as possible. That's the problem with these, because the original one, and it's still, when you go to watch it, it says Dead Reckoning Part 1 is what it's labeled as, because this was supposed to be a Part 1 and Part 2 movie. Whenever you have these types of films that are like this, that's the problem, is the first movie is just all set up and everything like that, and there's zero resolution, which sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. But I really feel like in most cases, and I feel like an action movie would suffer from it even more so, in the sense of, like, because of that lack of resolution, you're like, did I just watch all this for nothing? Like, you're not jumping straight into the next movie. It's not like watching a TV series or something like that. You're having to wait a year, or in this case a couple of years, for what comes next. But yeah, let me make a quick adjustment here. Realized we've been saying Ralph McQuarrie this whole time. It's Christopher McQuarrie. Ralph McQuarrie is, of course, the concept artist from Star Wars from back in the day. Christopher McQuarrie is the director for these movies. So
they're even related.
Don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's very likely that they're related somehow, because that doesn't seem like a very common last name. Let's jump this over. I think I've talked enough about this. There's a lot to talk about, but I always feel like with something like this, it's almost about especially with it being the final, like it ends up being more conversation about like the franchise as a whole, or like the people involved as a whole, as opposed to the movie. And I'd like to maybe focus a little bit more about the movie. So let's jump it over to Ashlyn. Let's get her thoughts on this, the final reckoning.
I really do hope it stays this way. I think they wrapped it up really nicely. And I don't think that it's a really great way to finish the franchise. I think if we revisit it, it's just going to ruin it, honestly. I think they did a really great job wrapping it up. Everyone kind of at the end has their nice little happy moment and everything, to kind of just be content with their life. So I really hope they stay that way and keep it that way. Honestly, like I told Andrew when we were walking out, this might honestly be my favorite one, just because of how great the ensemble cast was and just how good everything was directorial wise. Obviously, Tom Cruise's performance. I really love some of the surprise pop-ups that we got with Hannah Waddingham from Ted Lasso. I think she did a great job. Nick Offerman being in it as well. I thought his performance was really great. He kind of threw me through kind of a twist there at the end. I was like, when he asked for the officer's sidearm, I'm like, oh shit, this is either going to go one way or the other. Like, the way he's playing it, I felt like at first he was going to be the one to hold up the president and make her go through with it. And then he turned around and is the one that saves her life. And I thought that was really cool how they wrote that, like him having the forethought to anticipate that, and then it being very much like them playing you as like, oh no, he's going to be the one, and then you're like, nope, it's actually this, he's going to save her life. I really liked that end sequence as well, where of course she was the former director of the CIA and then she's now the president. I really loved Angela Bassett's performance in this. I thought she was fantastic. And I really loved the way she she played her role there at the end of being like, I'm going to do what we weren't brave enough to do this whole time and just take our shit offline. Like, we keep playing by this artificial intelligence's rules, and I'm going to take us out of play. Unfortunately, because of the assassination attempt, she isn't able to do that. And so, the entity takes over the US's nukes and everything like that. And so then it comes down, of course, to the team, like it always does. Of course, like Andrew said, with Ving Rhames, that was such a hard loss for me. He's probably my favorite character throughout as any of the supporting characters. But the way that he, like I said earlier when we were talking, is just like, it always was going to have to be me. I'm the only one who could have done this. I was born to do this. And he kind of tells Ethan the same thing. He's like, you're always going to be needed. You are the only one who can do this. You were born to do this. This is your purpose in life. And I just thought that was really poignant and well done. And then, of course, at the end of the movie, when they bring it back to I think it's the Pavola or Pavlov or whatever it's called. And he's giving him that goodbye message that they give us a little hint at when they're doing like a flashback sequence to when he first creates the poison pill and is talking to Ethan and tells him there's a message for him on it. I thought that was a really beautiful way to wrap things up, and him telling Ethan all of these things about how it had to be him and his destiny, but that at the same time, there was this thing that kept going around saying, oh, it is written, and he's like, our destinies aren't written in stone. Like, we write them ourselves. And I thought that was really poignant, and just to end with Ving Rhames and that voice and everything was just very poignant, and I really loved it. As Andrew mentioned with the Ludlow character from the first movie, I absolutely loved that storyline being brought through and kind of going back to the beginning. But like you said, it wasn't just lazy writing. It wasn't shoehorned in. It was really, really well done. And then you have like his Inuit wife and that little bit of having that native people from that region and everything, and like she plays just a bit of part of a lot of the stuff is Ludlow's character did, and like they're in it together and everything. And I loved him telling Ethan, you didn't ruin my life, you saved my life, basically. And it really came down to, it wasn't just like a toss away with him either, because he's like, I remember the day I literally committed those coordinates to memory and I burned and got rid of them. So without him, he's essential. So if he hadn't been there, it all comes down to his character being there at the right place at the right time, and was such a linchpin in the overall like story of trying to get this done and to have all the things line up. And they really talk about that, about it's all about timing. And of course with the character that's played by the Agent Carter actress and Peggy
Haley
Carter, Haley Atwell. They talk again about it's a blink of an eye and it's all about timing. And you really felt that kind of overall thing and theming throughout this entire story. Is everything leading up to this has always been about timing and where people were and all of these things. So I thought that was really well done. All the action sequences that they did, like Andrew said, the submarine sequence was so fucking stressful. I was just like, the only thing I saw happening before it actually happened was I could tell by the way with the sub rolling and everything and the loose torpedoes and the emphasis that they put on the door to get into the secure room that they needed to get the Pavlov or whatever it's called, is the torpedo falling in front of the fucking door. I was like, oh my God, I can see this. I know exactly what's going to happen. But then it still didn't 100% play out because I thought he was going to get trapped in it versus the way they kind of did it. It wasn't really him getting trapped in there for like when he was trying to get it and not be able to get out. So that was kind of a change up. But overall, I just think the ensemble cast did such a great job. The story was really well done. only gripe I would have, and it's literally just because it kind of had like a Lord Voldemort thing to me, is I just wanted Gabriel's character to fucking die already. I was like, this guy's like a goddamn cockroach. He just won't go away. And like at this point, like now that he's been like disavowed by the entity and he's no longer the entity's person, I was just like, can you just die already? Like, I'm so tired of seeing your face and like you getting in the way of things. Like, I just want you to fucking die already, dude. Like, just get out of our lives.
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, his face did go away pretty harshly. I just have to say, because you brought it up, like because of that scene at the very end, like I mean, I knew he was gonna die some one way or form, but I told Ashlyn I thought, you know, the back of the plane was gonna like slice his, you know, parachute or something like that,
Mhm.
like or something like that. I didn't think he was gonna go face first into the fin of the plane. That was I wasn't ready for that. I busted out laughing in the theater when it happened. Like everyone,
Our whole
was
theater
like,
laughed too. Yeah.
yeah, well, no, like nobody in the theater we were in, nobody
Oh,
with that. Like everyone kind of went like that, and I just went like it just made me crack up. But I'm sorry, Ashlyn, please continue.
Oh yeah, no. I was pretty much wrapped up. I did tell Andrew I kind of liked how they brought it back to the first one with using the whatever agent he is. I don't think he's part of the Impossible.
Oh, you're talking about the gray-haired guy.
The gray-haired guy that's working with Kittredge. I don't know what
it is. Oh! I thought you were talking about Kittredge. You're talking about the like CIA agent. That's
I guess
chasing him
he's
down.
CIA. I don't think he's IMF. I honestly
the one whose dad is John Voight's character
Voight.
from the original movie.
Yeah, it was a little shoehorned in there with that one. And
that was a bit of a stretch,
but I still liked it. I still thought it worked.
They kind of look similar now, though, to be quite honest. Like they kind of look like they could be related with the way he looks now. I will say that.
Yeah. So I liked it. I definitely could see the argument to say it was shoehorned in there, but I still liked the way he played his character, and especially at the end where he shakes, you know, Tom Cruise's hand and everything like that. And he realizes he was wrong, that it's not always just about following orders, and that sometimes you have to go outside of that. And he saw that Kittredge only cared about getting that technology because he selfishly wants to control the entity. And I think he realized that, yeah, that's not the right move, that there is no controlling this thing. It's extremely evil, and any person that is in control of the entity is never gonna do it for the right reasons, which is why Ethan even says to Atwell's character that, you know, who would you ever trust? And she's like, you. And he's like, yeah, no, I don't want that responsibility. Like, not even me.
Yet he gladly accepts it at the end of the movie. I'll take it.
Yeah, that's my question. Like, what do you do with that thing? Like, you can't crush it, you can't burn it, because then it just, the entity gets re-released. I'm like, what do you do? Just put it in a black bolt?
That's not how.
Is that how
that works?
I don't know. Like, I'm just assuming.
It's
like,
not.
I don't
it's
know.
not a ghost.
I ain't afraid of no entity.
He could destroy it. That's the thing. Is he?
Okay.
If he wanted, I mean, I think like unless it's made out of like you know, pure diamond or something like that, it'd be really hard to destroy. He could destroy it and kill the entity. They apparently just don't know if they want to or not, and I feel like they should. But they were saying that. I remember Haley Atwell saying that like maybe they could figure a way to like undo some of the stuff that it did. Yeah. I don't know exactly what she's talking about that they could do that, or how they would do it, but that's
what it did and what damage it did.
Yeah.
It's like what
damage specifically did it do that we can undo? That isn't like killing people and shit. Like what is it that was left, you know, to the imagination, I guess. But
I don't know. Maybe it's like permanent damage with misinformation and stuff like that. I feel like all of these movies now is all about this whole like reflection of our reality nowadays, with like the mistrust with AI. And
well, we're just into the new version of Terminator. That's all it is. Like,
dun 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 dun.
So I don't know if that's what she's alluding to, is somehow fixing that crap. I don't know. It's very much left open-ended. But as far as like out of all of them, like I said, I think I would give this one is probably my favorite. Like Andrew said, the first one is very much like the first of this two-part is very much all about lead up and everything. And I found myself like comparing it to the other movies is very much on the lower end of the spectrum for me with certain things. But I do like the introduction of a lot of the characters that we got in this one. I like all the time we get with Paris and her character and things like that. And then the additional agent that switches sides from being working for Kittredge and the black gentleman. I don't remember the character's name. And him moving over to their side and his role with that. I thought that was really cool. So honestly, out of all of them, like I said, this might be my favorite, if not like my second favorite overall. I think I told Andrew last night, for me, this movie was like a 9 out of 10 for me. It was just really well done.
Steven, what did you think about the final reckoning?
Oh man, it was so final. So final. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it in the same way that I enjoyed Top Gun. And that is, if you overanalyze it, you're gonna have a bad time. Like you can't. So Tom Cruise, I would imagine that in the submarine dive situation, he not only was he testing like theoretical diving gear that was probably a facsimile of the movie, but he probably broke like by double digits world records for free diving. Like I'd have to look it up, but like the whole that if you turn your brain off, you're gonna have fun. They haven't quite hit the Fast and Furious like level of ridiculousness, but they're getting close. They're definitely getting close to it. I so context. I've always been a huge Mission Impossible fan. Like I think Mission Impossible 2 is a good movie, and I'm like one of like maybe 10 people on the planet, including Tom Cruise, that thinks that's a good movie. It's funny because like the first movie, he almost presents as like a rookie, like trying to figure stuff out, even though he's not. He's clearly an experienced agent. And then in Mission Impossible 2, it's like he's very confident, and I like a lot of like the choice, like the choices in the beginning for like a lot of the cinematography in Mission Impossible 2 is really cool. It's not as terrible in my opinion, but I'm not gonna argue. We're not here to argue Mission Impossible 2. But I had seen up until Mission Impossible 6. Like I had seen all of them in the theaters. And this last one, I just could not get excitement enough to go see Dead Reckoning. First of all, was the title I thought was terrible. It was so goofy of a title, and I was just like, I'm gonna skip it. Well, as we got closer to Final Reckoning coming out, and everyone's like, oh, it could be the last one. I'm like, I'll go ahead and give Dead Reckoning a try. I so rarely will turn off a movie like as I'm watching it. I stopped watching that. I thought the plot was ludicrous. Like it went from kind of like inconceivable, like outlandish plot to this world-ending AI, and I'm like, God, such a cheap gimmick. So I did not have very high expectations, and I'm glad that this movie spent so much time rehashing what happened in Dead Reckoning. So I was really like, I understood what was going on. But I was so disappointed in the series and so disappointed in Tom. And I was like, I don't care how cool anything that will happen in this movie is going to be. I was like, this is just so the De Palma idea of what Mission Impossible was. It's just such a departure, back in Mission Impossible 1. But this was fun. I really loved how they brought back, and I'm pretty sure it was Ludlow is the guy from the server, the knock list heist. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that was the name. But it was funny, in our theater, we had a packed theater because we went to see it like on Memorial Day. And actually, we all three of it. We just didn't see it at the same time. Same theater, just different times. And we were up in the back corner, like the very back corner, because we were having a hard time getting seats to movies. that day, and when he stepped around the corner, I did like a Nelson from The Simpsons laugh, like "Ah!" Like I knew exactly who he was, and no one else did
Oh no.
in our whole theater. I sounded like a maniac. Like I just thought, old man with glasses, funny. But I knew instantly who it was. Like because it's the whole like they say they're very clear. Kittredge is very clear that he's sending him to like I think he says Siberia. I
Yeah,
think is
something
what he
like
says
that.
in the first movie. But it was so funny to like pay off and like what you guys were saying about the interaction with that he had with Ethan. Really well written, well acted, and that kind of bridges um into something I was really surprised by, but I guess it's gradually been happening. Ethan is less and less and less and less and less of a serious character. The older Tom Cruise gets, like he's playing him a little goofier. I think like he's just, and it's funny because like I think that works for the character. Like he's more like he's gone past being confident and serious to I'm getting too old for the shit kind of mentality, you know? And he's like his fights are he's not winning his fights as dominantly. He's not doing everything as like competently when he could. Like it's a movie. They could just have him do everything perfectly. He gets beat up more.
I
And I
think it's
really
funny you
respect
say
that.
that, Steven,
Mhm.
because the scene where he's trying to save Atwell's character, and they just don't even show that whole fight sequence. It's just literally the sounds, and then it just shows over to people with like axes in them and shit. And like Atwell's like reactions the whole time are hilarious as you just hear the crunching, and then her face is just like freaking out. It was just so funny. They're like, yeah, we're not even gonna try to show this.
See, my cynical mind is like, oh, they were trying to save a few dollars on the by not sure just having it off screen. Um, but yeah, like it like that for example, like he's really like, oh, they were gonna kill you. I had to do something. It's he plays him a lot more goofy.
We really gotta
Uh,
go.
But
yeah,
then
and
it's funny because there's very serious moments too. Like I was telling Andrew when they're in the tube and everything like that, and the way that Atwell's character is like taking care of him while he's decompressing and everything, those like moments are very serious. And then like there were the serious moments where like Cruz is crying and there's like the single tear trickling down. I'm sure most people found it cheesy and like not believable, but I like really wholeheartedly bought into like how serious he was being in some of those scenes, and I thought he did it really well. But I do see the points where you're saying there are times where he is playing it very hee and chuckle and like funny at the same time.
yeah, but I think he's like doing that. Like he's like, well, I'm getting older, and it's kind of more like we're stretching the believability of like what I'm doing. I do think I don't mind it. I will say that the decompression chamber, when she was in it with him, I'm like, I don't know. Admittedly, don't know how decompression chambers work
I was
specifically.
confused too. It's okay.
Exactly, like she can hang out with him in like if because like don't they have to like bring his like I mean like body oxygen or however they again I have no idea how they're working, but I'm like would she be like affected adversely by that? Um, Also was kind of like needed a little more info of how she and uh Nanook of the North's mom got him out of the of
I
the
love
ice
that part
cap.
because she's just like, "Hello,
Oh,
I
I'm
see
not gonna
you.
lie.
So funny.
I'm
I
gonna tell you
see
this
you."
right now. I'm gonna tell you this right now. That's who should take over for Tom Cruise in the next Mission Impossible. That's his. That's the next one. Like
It's a
I would
poster
watch
with
a
her
whole
with the
movie.
dog shovel for the food. Like it's just,
Oh no, I
you
want
know.
her in like full like tactical gear, silence pistol. The whole the Tom Cruise hair from MI2. The shoulder
She
length
says, "Eat
bob
your
he had
heart out,
going.
John Wick. I'm the new badass."
I think that I honestly I will say like just to take a quick aside, I hope those two are on. If they do another one, I want them to be on the team. Like Lilo is like, I want them to be. I was pissed they didn't show up at the end when they're all meeting in London. But that
Yeah.
leads into I have a couple, one or two critiques that I'm gonna. I like I said, it's good. It's better to not like think too much about these movies, but Having not seen Dead Reckoning, there's context that explains what's going on here, but they were saying that if you delete the entity, you delete cyberspace itself, right?
Yeah.
And that it would cause irreparable harm. It seems to me that irreparable harm was not caused when they contained the entity.
Him, yeah.
They never explained that was going to do anything other than delete cyberspace. So maybe
what it might be, Steven, is they were saying instead of trapping him, right? Like, because they just, I don't know why I just refer to it as a him, but trapping the entity, right? Like, maybe trapping it is different than him being in cyberspace and then, like, putting a bug in that deletes it and it takes cyberspace with it. So that is my only thing that I can think is the difference.
Sure. But we have another little problem with that. Putting the poison pill into the Pavlova was supposed to kill the entity somehow, right? They never really explained, at least to my satisfaction, or maybe they did, and I just totally zoned out at that point because it is a little ridiculous. They never explained how getting the poison pill into the source code hard drive, the Pavlova, would help them to capture, because he had to hook up an antenna so they know when he did it, and they had to do it at the exact same time. It seems like, according to how Benji explained it, all they really had to do was let the entity in and then capture it. But why did you need the Pavlova to capture it in that drive? They never really, it's just they were doing things. Yeah. And then they said we have to do these things. And it's like, why? Give me like I don't usually like to be walked through movies. Like I want them to be intuitive. I'm like, okay, how does putting the poison pill in the Pavlova allow you to capture? They might have fully explained it, and I'm just like, it's white noise to me because it's like I had to go into it being like, this is a movie. I'm supposed to have fun. That's all there is to it. I also really liked everything you guys said. Like, you guys hit the nail on the head. I liked all of it. You could have seen from a country mile that one of those missiles was going to come block that damn door.
Yeah.
And what I love about it is that this man with his oxygen tank in front of him was able to get enough leverage to open a torpedo door to get out.
I kept wondering that as he's going in it, and I looked at Andrew. I was like, doesn't he need to press a button or something to get the fucking door to open?
That was by far, to me, the worst part of the whole movie, in the sense of I felt so uncomfortable when it was like, I'm like, oh my God, you have no leverage. You're going to die in that torpedo tube, homie. Also, good for Ethan Hunt having expert knowledge about how submarine mechanics work. Like, he's able to operate he knows exactly. I'm just glad that I like that it's a Russian submarine.
So again,
it's not even a U.S. submarine. It's a Russian submarine. It's a Russian. And he's like, I'm like, this dude knows so much. He didn't skip the briefing. He didn't skip the mission briefing. They're like, Ethan, if you have to, I know you're going to try to leave through the door, but just in case, this is how you bypass the launch system and manually open the door on the experimental Russian submarine that was lost 20 years ago. But like I said, you got to turn your brain off for that kind of stuff. I love the biplane thing, because when I saw the trailer for that, I was like, they've lost me. It's biplanes now, and then they're like, oh, it had to be biplanes because they don't have any digital systems for the entity to take over. I'm like, okay, you guys did it perfectly fine. I do also love the fact that the big bomb, that if you're smart enough, you can disarm any bomb. If you're smart people can disarm a bomb. And it's like, I'm like, dude, aren't you like a glorified database manager? Like, you're this bomb. But a problem I had with that scene was, and I guess it's really not a problem because the guy locked Luther in, was that they almost presented it like he figured something out Luther didn't.
Yeah.
But I guess saying it out loud right now, Luther couldn't have made it out to safety in 10 seconds anyway. He would have died no matter what, if he had the 10 seconds or not.
That's the argument they probably would have made,
Yeah. So I did like that scene. I really liked the part where I actually the one agent that went with him after they rescued Mantis's character. I don't know the actress's name or her character in the movie. I don't
Paris.
think they ever say her name.
Her name is
In the-
Paris.
Paris. Okay, I'll just keep calling her Mantis. Um, which it was weird because she's such a sweet, like, innocent character in Guardians of the Galaxy. And I was like, my first thought was like, wow, Mantis is kind of hot in this. I'm like, I don't like it. Honestly, it's like seeing your sister dressed up really nice. You're like, no, you're my sister. Like, you're supposed to look like a little kid for the rest of your life. You're not supposed to be really dressed like an adult. No, thank you. But it was like, I was like, no, I don't know. I need Mantis is Star-Lord's like sweet little sister. She's not a killer. And Benji better not get any ideas either, because it seemed like there might be a little thing going on at the end there. No, that's Mantis. She's always going to be Mantis. But no, she was really cool. I think was she in a John Wick movie, or was she in one of the John Wicks?
I don't think so. I think you might be confusing her with like the Ruby Rose character from was it the third one? Or
no, it was a blonde. I thought there was like her blonde hair like threw me off. Like I thought there was like a blonde hair like female assassin in John Wick. Yeah. I could be totally wrong, but anyway, that's beside the point. It's not late, but it's late for me, so my mind's wandering. But I really liked the movie. Luther's death was kind of like, it actually didn't hit me that hard in contrast to like but at least as hard as it could have, because I felt like it was kind of very, very much broadcast that it was going to happen. Benji's death would have been a little more surprising, considering, how important he still is to the movies. Like, and it's like, and it was always funny because I'm surprised that Luther and Benji lasted together in the series as long as they did, because they're kind of redundant. Like, they're both like, their expertise is kind of the same.
They're both the tech guy, yeah.
Right, yeah. So I'm surprised like they lasted, like they didn't kill one of them off way back. But yeah, like Ving Rhames is such an important part of these movies, and I'm glad he got a proper send off, and they gave just the death itself, like the whole like bomb thing and his talk with Ethan, like that was cool, but it was like, they're gonna kill somebody, like you said, Andrew. They're gonna kill somebody. Like someone's got it. Someone's not making out of this movie alive. And I really liked. I'll tell you one more thing I didn't like though was Ethan's relationship with Haley Atwell.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of like the will they won't they thing between the two of them is like, he's still in love with. How is this different than the wife he's still in love with, that they made for a few movies, made such a big deal out of,
Well, I think the thing is he's not in love with his wife anymore. He loves his wife, but I don't think he's like, that's the difference between being in love with someone and loving someone, right? So like, I think he genuinely loves and cares about his wife and always will, and she's a part of him. But I don't think that he's in love with her anymore. And I think that's where he's like towing the line with Haley's character with a lot of things, is like, this is a woman that he deeply cares about and could have those type of feelings for. But like Andrew said, because I was like, if they don't kiss by the end of this movie, I'm going to lose my shit. And then they didn't. And I think Andrew brought up the point of they wanted to leave it open in a sense, because every woman that he ever gets with is doomed to die. So he's like, I want
or something bad happens, even though his wife technically didn't die.
I would argue that so his first love in Mission Impossible 1, she was a villain, so she was killed because she was a villain. Danny Newton's character did not die in Mission Impossible 2. His wife was in 3, 4. She almost did. In 3 and 4 and 5, it was his wife was his love interest for all of those. I'll tell you this much. What I liked about Rebecca Ferguson's character is that it's kind of like, it was believable they could have a relationship that worked, because she was on his level, as a spy. Yeah. Which is kind of what a character like him, I guess, would need to, like, as like a partner, or at least if he was like someone who like played the game and knew the risks, and
the
they weren't
Mr.
going
and
to
Mrs.
get
Smith
too,
Yeah.
if you will, yeah. Um, Haley Atwell's character seems too much like his wife. Like she's too close to personality. Like she kind of looks a little bit like her. Like not exactly, obviously, but like
Yeah.
same. Like Ethan has a type, you know. But yeah, the whole like that she's a pickpocket thing, which I thought that was hilarious. I leaned over to Jacinia because that's part of the that I saw of Dead Reckoning. I was like, wow, they brought around that pickpocket thing 2 movies later, or like a movie and a half later. It's like, oh, we need a pickpocket because we need someone to pick the entity off the thing. Yeah, I just I felt like maybe at this point, like a romantic interest for Ethan's almost unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like he's not James Bond. Like he's not going to just have relations with every woman in every movie. He's a relationship guy. He loves his team.
Yeah.
He's married to his team. So it doesn't make sense to like tease him with the character with a stable relationship and then be like, nah, no, you're all good. You get to be alone with your team, but you have a team. So do you really need a wife or a girlfriend if you have a team? I don't think so. If I had a team, like I wouldn't need anybody else. It's all about the team. But he's one person. He's lost a person on the team, so now he has to replace him. But and I know a certain Inuit woman that would make a great replacement for. I think they should lean into that. She was my favorite character for this movie. I don't know, like it was great. I loved her. I loved her so much. She was awesome.
And it's because she really
but,
didn't talk, because like she only speaks Inuit. She never speaks English. Like, but just her mannerisms and her facial expressions were fucking hilarious. They were.
Why did she? So she told Haley Atwell where to go, but then she went with her anyway.
Yeah, I think she was telling her where to go because she's saying, "I'm tired. I need to lay down."
Yeah, she's telling her how to use the thing and which direction to go.
Okay, so I totally missed that she was trying to go to sleep. That's hilarious.
Yeah,
that's really good.
Because then Haley's character's like, "Yeah, okay, like I get it now. That's fair."
After we're done recording, I'm gonna go on and find out how decompression chambers work, because I want to be. If I'm gonna be angry at that, I want to know. I want a good reason to be angry at it. I guess they do. The other divers in the submarine decompress with him. But yeah, I loved Rebecca's character. I don't know what was the actress's name? Not Rebecca Ferguson, but Rebecca from Ted Lasso.
Oh, Hannah Waddingham.
Okay, she was great. I honestly like. It's weird to pay this compliment to a British actress, but her American accent was really good.
It was, yeah. No,
I know they're always good. Like British people always have a good American accent, but I'm like, hers was really good. Like I couldn't hear any breaks in it whatsoever. Like she was great. It was one of those like between her and Nick Offerman, it's like they were glorified cameos. Would you call them, like at the end of the day? Like
they were like long format cameo or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I was like, I'd like more of both of these characters. Well, I guess Nick Offerman's not an option, but Nick Offerman wasn't in Dead Reckoning.
No.
And she wasn't in Dead Reckoning either?
No. Nope. Those were both brand new characters that they introduced.
But Angela Bassett was in
Correct. And she was in the one prior to that, the one with Henry Cavill, because she's running the CIA and he's her agent at that point.
So I don't think, if I remember correctly, I don't think she technically showed up in Dead Reckoning. I don't believe we deal with her at all in that movie. But she was from Fallout, the one with Henry Cavill.
Okay.
She was the CIA director at the time.
This
movie.
Iconic. You should do that in every movie.
He did the thing.
Yeah, it's Jacinia was really my girlfriend Jacinia. She was super excited about her being the CIA director, because apparently she was the CIA director in Alias.
Ah,
so,
that
yeah,
so connecting. Seasons.
connected universe, I guess. You want to know what my final ranking for Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning? Um, in the grand scheme of the series, it'd probably be smack dab in the middle for me. Like with one, two, and three, probably one, three, two, in that order for the top three, and then I really, really liked what was the first the Brad Bird one? Which one was that?
That was Ghost Protocol.
Honestly, Ghost Protocol might be my fourth favorite Mission Impossible movie. I thought it was really good. But yeah, this one was fun. It was hard to get over the ludicrous plot, but I got there. I think everyone will get there too. They're talking about doing or I think they're officially doing a stuntman category for the Oscars. And the funny thing is,
that's so cool. I'm so excited.
Yep. And the funny thing is, they're like, well, Tom Cruise is going to get nominated. I'm like, yeah, and he should win. He's a 62-year-old man. He's a 62-year-old stuntman. He should win. He deserves to win an Oscar for like that would make the most sense of anything in his career. I think he would appreciate that more than any other Oscar he could get. He definitely deserves it. It would not be unearned. It would not be just a token thing to get that category started. He's legitimately one of the best stuntmen in Hollywood. He's one of our last great movie stars as well, like true movie stars. They're a dying breed. People get recycled so much, and the new flavor of the week thing, it seems to be happening more and more and more. But yeah, he's a true movie star in a really great big screen film. If I'm going 1 out of 10, I'm probably going an 8. Maybe a very high 7 or an 8 for this movie. Go see it. Not quite as good as the new Top Gun, but you're gonna have a good time. You're gonna have a good time.
For sure. And Ashlyn, you said that you were giving it a 9 out of 10, correct?
I was giving it a 9 out of 10 for me.
Very cool. For myself, if I was going to rank them, I'll just give I think my top 3 of the franchise. I think Ghost Protocol is my number 1 personally.
Great movie.
I would possibly put Fallout as my number 2. Because that one's just a lot of fun. I love the dynamic with him and Henry Cavill in that movie is just really great. And of course, seeing Henry Cavill play a bad guy, just that one, it has some off the rails moments and some goofiness, but it's a fun action movie. And I'd probably put this one as number 3 for me as of right now. Out of a 10 ranking for this film, I'm probably around where you're at. Steven, which is an 8 for me. I think it's a solid 8 for me. But that is not a bad thing at all. Especially when you're talking an action film, getting an 8 out of 10 or Ashlyn's saying a 9 out of 10 for an action film that's tall marks in my opinion, because I'm not even the biggest I'll watch action movies, but it's not like I'm I wasn't someone that grew up on the 80s, 90s action films and
Rambo, Mission Impossible, or Missing in Action, that type of thing.
That sort of thing. Yeah, that's not my bag at all. So this is a pretty big deal for me to give an action movie like this an 8 out of 10. This became this franchise became for me kind of like what John Wick did, where it was it made me love action stuff that I probably wouldn't have liked before. Now John Wick is a whole other thing, but just in that sphere where it was it's something I never thought I'd really be into, but it made me dive into it more. But yeah, overall, like we said, this is a really great installment. Honestly, hopefully the final installment of the franchise of Mission Impossible. I know, but they
haven't been to space yet. When they go to space, I'll
oh my god, yeah, we gotta end it with the space one.
Hey, if Elon's trying to go to space, Tom can go to space. I'd rather Tom. If
Katy Perry can be an astronaut, so can Tom.
Oh, that's even better. Oh my god.
So let's.
I wonder what
end
song
it there.
Tom will sing when he's in space.
Let's end it there, guys. Please, go see this movie. Make your own opinion. I would hope if you watched this video that you have seen this movie. But if for some reason if you haven't, please go, see it for yourself, make up your own mind. We're not here to tell you what to think. We're just here to give you our thoughts and opinions on this type of stuff, and we want to hear from you as well. Comment below. Be sure to let us know what you thought of this movie. If there's anything else coming out this summer that you're excited for, there's a lot of movies coming to theaters. Like this summer in particular is particularly packed. So definitely a lot to look out for in that. Be sure to follow us here on YouTube, of course. Subscribe for all our different videos that we have coming, reviews, podcast stuff, everything else in between. Also, check us out on TikTok and Instagram at RetroactivePOD. You can follow me on all social media at Andrew is Losing. Ashlyn, where can the people find you?
All socials at BookBrat90.
And Steven?
At the 7-Eleven on Erlo Bronson. And no, you can find me at Steph Wheels on Instagram and nothing else. Because I don't do anything else. Don't look. Don't even look.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.